Hi everyone, so in recent material, in recent videos, I've been talking a lot about these mysterious ciphers that are units of meaning that are somewhere between the core symbols of our unconscious and the signs that we operate with in our everyday life, primarily with words, the words of our language, but the signs of the everyday, the representations of the everyday, that allow us to function in the world, to sort of operate according to a particular template of norms, principles, social rule, things we do, things we don't do, and so on, right? Moving in a sense from the inner world of the psyche and its innermost recesses to the reality principle, of being in a person in the world, having a life, having work, maybe starting a family, confronting the various trials and tribulations that constitute the fact of being a human being in a society with this particular kind of culture and so on. So the reason why I wanted to introduce this notion of the cipher, first of all, and the reason why I wanted to insist on the peculiar quality of the symbol being a kind of archetype. I mean, archetypes are symbols. It's just that one of those archetypes is the connective tissue between the unconscious as a collective unconscious and the personal unconscious. That's if you like, the symbol of the personality. The personality of a person is articulated around one of those symbols, and the particular form of this symbol gives the core fundamental fantasy that structures and gives meaning to everyday experience as something more than simply just a senseless and empty succession of causes and effects. We are not just things in the world, we are persons, and we are also persons because we are able to experience our lives as full and meaningful to some degree that is deeply connected to the work of our core fantasies and therefore the work of the symbol. The more we become alienated from the symbol, the more we feel that our life has no meaning, and therefore that justifies the importance of talking about these things. They have value as well because, like I was saying in a recent video, the symbolic knotting at the heart of the unconscious of every person has different degrees of porosity, right? Porosity of this particular kind of suture or knotting to the archetypal water of the collective unconscious. That's a way of understanding NI dominance and the particular inner world phenomenology of the NI dominant. When I talk of the contrast, if you like, between the oceanic feeling of NI and the regimented demands of the external world and of adaptation, this is a way of saying that the NI unconscious is more permeated with this archetypal water, gives it the oceanic feeling, than your average unconscious. This is a hypothesis I make, and I directly connect it to the idea that the core symbol in NI dominant has more porosity to the collective unconscious than other symbols that form the knotting that binds together the psyche of people of other types. So in a sense, you could say that of all the types, NI dominance, people who lead with NI, people for whom NI is a world, have a symbolic knot keeping them together, keeping their psyches together, that is, if you like, lets in more of the archetypal water than average. a lot can be understood from that, because you then understand the particular symbolic and metaphorical quality of NI speech, which we would then understand as an attempt to speak in ciphers. And since ciphers are not quite signs, in order to communicate with other people, we need to use metaphor and symbolism and allegory and mythology. You see that in Jung, of course, you see that in Lacan, you see that in Nietzsche and so on. So that's a way of understanding why the NI dominant has interests that seem esoteric, spiritual, and otherworldly at times, why the NI dominant is apt to speak via allegory and symbolism, and to, if you like, be a bit reticent to speak plainly. Okay, sometimes we encounter NI dominants and they frustrate us because they don't seem to want to be transparent. A quick interpretation, that is a shallow interpretation, is that these people just relish being misunderstood, and that perhaps they're not able to articulate more clearly because they haven't actually thought things through, right? Now, often, not always, but often that interpretation is just a projection of someone functioning with a non-NI dominance onto or into the NI dominant. Because the other person might not be able to understand that what they consider to be transparent reasoning is not available in as neat a fashion to someone who's attempting to actually speak in ciphers, because those ciphers articulate for them the meaningness that is crucial to them. Because another aspect of having a particularly porous core symbol is that there's nothing more numinous, nothing more pulsating with meaningness than a symbol, of course. This is why Jung called the archetypal primordially numinous entities, and encounters with the numinous are profoundly meaningful experiences. So if your core symbol is more porous to archetypal water, then it follows quite straightforwardly that the preoccupation with meaningness is really, really quite significant. More significant than it would be for other people. People who are very distant, in a sense, from numinosity and concern with meaningness might be able to function just fine in the everyday world without too many of those concerns. They might be happy with what I call mere sense, making sense of your everyday world with the normal apparatus of our language and its signs, the signs that are interchangeable, interoperational, that you can use in different ways, but are not symbols and are not ciphers. If your everyday language is poor in sort of the need to express ciphers, you'll be usually content with mere sense, where an NI dominant who is more porous and therefore whose personal unconscious contains a higher density of cipher to sign compared to other types, yeah, they're going to be preoccupied significantly more with meaningless and more apt to be misunderstood by others. Okay, so I'll continue in another video to talk more specifically about the cases of INFJ compliance, because I think that's a great example to use the tools of the cipher with. But in the meantime, guys, you know that the first link in the description box is to my Patreon page. For me to continue producing quality content for you on such a regular basis, I need your help more than ever, and I could not do this without you. It's really quite inexpensive. For only a few euros or dollars a month or a year, you have both options. You get access to a whole library of contents that is exclusive for patrons, where I record long format videos discussing topics that you choose. So if you can't have enough of my content, you should definitely join. You help me. You also get access to our Discord server, which is a really fun place to interact with me and the others. Don't forget about my latest book on the INFJ called The Infinite Soul, INFJ Life in Modern World. Speaking of, adapting to the world without losing your authenticity, this is the book to get if you want to understand this better, as well as its prequel, The Ecstatic Soul, A New Life, a new look at the INFJ personality, which is all about the INFJ's consciousness, the INFJ mind, INFJ thoughts, and generally the internal psychic world of the INFJ. If you want a deep understanding of the type, these books are essential reading. See you tomorrow, guys. Thank you very much.